Judy's in Tennessee, Cherie's in Washington. Thanks y'all for being here. So hey, listen, the reason we decided to have Tandy Leather come is one, many of you will remember that when we asked you what was on your bucket list for 2018, a number of you said that you wanted to attach leather to your slippers or your purses. We've looked at that a little bit using some alternate routes, but when we started doing our research, we realized that Tandy Leather is everywhere. So we figure this is such a great resource. The company's been around a long, long time. Their staff is really knowledgeable, and you can get the same supplies and learn the same techniques that you'll be shown today, hopefully in your region as well. So I don't want to delay too much. How many people? We got a number of people with us and more are joining. So as you join, just say hi. Let us know where you're from. This is an interactive hour, so please do ask questions. Post your own commentary if you want. And everybody who participates is entered to win a prize. We always give presents away at the end. That's just a super fun time for us. So thank you for being here. And now I just want to bring our guest on. I don't want to spend a lot of time chitty-chatting myself. We have with us today the Austin, Texas store manager, Carmen Alexander. So this is the capital city of Texas. She runs this great big leather shop here where there's a lot of leather around. So come on in, Carmen. Y'all, give me a big BFF welcome for Carmen. I want to see lots of hearts, 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 hearts. Carmen, thank you for being here.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Now, Carmen, I went up to you and visited your store.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was just so, I don't know what I thought I was going to see, but there's just open stock leather everywhere.
We do have a lot of options.
She told me to look around, and I was like overwhelmed, like people feel when they come in here, just overwhelmed with also.
Yep.
But today, you're going to school us on some different types of leather we should be familiar with and understand, and then you're also going to show us how to apply leather too.
You got it.
Yeah, okay, well, where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with the different types of leather because it's very important. Depending on what project you're going to be working on will depend on what type of leather you pick out. You'll see here we just have a couple different options for us. I'll start with the big one in the back.
Okay.
This here is a veg tan type of leather.
What do you say, veg tan? Now, we'll just go slow because we don't know all your terms.
That's okay,
so
I'm going to explain it.
A veg tan.
Which simply means it's tanned with the bark of the tree, a little bit more natural, no chemicals, no chromiums, no sulfites, those type of things. So this one, if your guests have any type of allergens, this one's going to be the most healthiest for them.
So it's called veg tan, but it's leather.
It is.
Okay,
okay. It's just tanned more naturally.
Okay.
As opposed to some of the chromium tan ones, like what you see here, the colored ones. These are all done with sulfites and chromiums and such.
Okay, now these are much different. So now this one is thick and kind of stiff. What would you use this for?
So you can use this for soles, you can use it for the bottom of your handbag. Like say on your bag here, you wanted to put a nice leather bottom there, you can use the veg tan there. You can also mix it up and use some colors. I personally use only veg on anything that's going to touch my skin, just because I have a little bit more sensitivity than most people.
Okay, so if you have sensitivities, you want to look for the veg tan.
Yes.
Is it always this thicker, more rigid, more stiff?
It will come in different weights and thicknesses, and it's available at all your local Tandies. What I brought here is about a 4-ounce leather, and you wouldn't want to use anything much more than that on some projects. Now, if you're wanting to do a nice heavy thick sole, then you can go with thicker leather.
Okay, so you say this is 4 ounce. Now we do weights, right, y'all? We weight everything. So 4 ounce per yard?
No, normal people don't think in ounces. Most of us think in inches and millimeters and such like that. But what that translates to is for every ounce you're looking at a 64th of an inch, and what you're talking about is the thickness of the leather.
So 4 ounces is 4 64ths of an inch.
You got it. So
I don't really think in 64ths. My ruler's not that tiny. Okay.
But you have a Tandy expert for that. You just go in and tell them what you're looking to do, what project, and all of our managers, all of our associates everywhere will be able to help you with that. So you don't have to become a leather expert.
So now, does this veg tan, does it come pre-stained?
No, some I do have in colors, but what's so amazing about this veg tan and why I brought it today is it's so easy to dye, and we have everything from your traditional blacks and browns to bright pinks and blues
Woo!
and greens. So you can do a lot with this one.
Is it like a sponge type applicator?
It depends on what the look you're going for.
Ah.
And we do classes.
That's another time.
It
Let's talk
is.
about diamond.
That's okay. We do classes if you're near Tandy. All Tandys do classes.
Okay, how many Tandys are there?
120-ish
In the U.S. or
in the
everywhere?
U.S.
Okay.
So, and then we're also in the U.K., we're in Spain, and we're in Australia. So we're a little bit of everywhere, and we also mail order. So if you're not near Tandy, we'll ship to you. So
Yeah.
you just call up your store and tell them what you need.
Nice.
So,
Oh, cool. Okay, so this is the veg tan,
Uh-huh.
4 ounce.
yes.
And we're going to be working with this later.
Yes, I have another piece here for us that's
Oh.
already pre-cut. It's
Okay.
a little smaller piece, but about the same weight.
Okay, so let's pause. Ann, anything so far? What are
Yeah.
people saying?
Well, people are very, very excited to learn. Cherie Davidson from Washington shares that a Tandy Leather coin purse was the first hobby kit that she made when she was younger, and she's made a couple other things, and she's so excited.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so
it.
cool. That's so cool. And so can everyone hear us okay? I know I'm loud, but Carmen's not.
I'll speak up a little
Project-
bit louder for you guys.
just-
Project a little
Is
bit.
everyone can hear okay? Let me see around the hearts if y'all can hear us. Okay, what do you want to show us next, Carmen?
Okay, so let's move into the chromium leathers. That's going to be the pre-colored pieces you see here. Now this one is a special print that I really like.
It's a print.
This one is. It's made on cowhide, but it's a javelina print.
What's javelina mean?
Javelina is a type of pig. So,
This
do you
is a
remember-
pig print on cow leather.
Yes. You remember the little pig from The Lion King?
Mm-hmm.
He was a javelina pig.
Okay.
Yes.
This is a Lion King leather.
Yes. So you can make a lot of cool things with this.
Wow.
Prints are really fun to embellish your bags without adding too much to them because, I mean, felting is fun and you don't want to take too much away from your design. So,
This is really supple, and this side is really smooth, and this side is like a, well, I would call it a nubuck. What do you call it?
A
What's
suede.
it? A suede.
mhm.
So this side's like a
Absolutely.
suede, and this side, although it's got all this pattern look to it, it's really smooth.
Mhm.
It's
And
really
easy to
soft.
work with.
Yeah, it seems like it is.
And now, we sell a lot of suedes at all of our locations for the bottoms of slippers. These are the ones that you see a lot of times on dancer shoes.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
So if I wanted to pull out my ballerina moves,
This is
Sorry.
where you go. You
they
go.
laugh. They know. They know.
Yeah.
This is not. Now this is heavier
Mhm.
than this.
It's a little bit thicker.
Oh, what's this? Okay, we got ounces. You got to tell us
You
what
got
our
it. So
ounces.
this one's going to be closer to a 4 to 5 like the first one.
Okay.
Whereas this one on the edge here is going to be closer to like a 2 to 3.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. But this feels weighty and like this
It
reminds
has
me
more
of.
body, right?
Yeah. And it
Mhm.
makes you have a shirt made out of this
Yes.
weight. So this would be more for non. Does this help you not slip so much?
Exactly.
So if you want non-slip, maybe on your slippers, this is. What do you
go
call
with
it?
the suede.
A suede, just a
Mhm.
suede.
And now this is another suede. This one's just much thinner.
Wow.
So this
Man,
red
that
one
is
will
so.
add a little more body.
What's the weight of this one? Feels finer
This
than
one's
this
about a
one.
1 ounce.
This would be a great like surface design on a bag that or something that's already felted because it's not going to add too much dimension.
Mhm.
It's really nice and lightweight.
Mhm. And we do sell the pig skins in all different colors.
This is a pigskin.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes. And then I have one more
Okay.
that is a smooth pre-colored leather. And you'll notice that this one's very thin as well, and it's
Uh-huh.
also very supple. This one's a calf skin,
Okay.
so, and that's about a 2 ounce.
Okay.
Not
2
too
ounce.
thick at all.
Very beautiful.
And now, today, what we're going to work with is going to be the veg leather because
Okay.
you can do the most manipulating with it. But as far as applying it to your felt with the glue or the stitching, regardless of which method, they're going to work very similarly. So even though we're using veg today, you will be able to apply the techniques you learn onto the chrome.
To what, and any of these leathers that you've just shown us, the techniques we'll do today, we'll do that.
And we'll start with the veg here, but it will apply with the chrome.
Cool.
So.
Okay, so for y'all, yes, Ann, tell us.
We have a couple questions real
Okay.
quick. Penny wants to know, will any of this leather be durable enough to put on felted boots that you would wear outside?
Yes, we would go with the veg tan, which is going to be this one here. But we would use a thicker leather, like what we were talking about before. You can also stack your leather, but if it were me, I would just go to my local Tandy and get about a 7 to 9 ounce leather.
Okay, so something thicker so that it
Yes.
can handle that wear.
Yes, and then at your local Tandies, we also sell what's called a Aussie, and you're able to waterproof them, and we also have snow proofing. So that helps
was
seal
it,
the leather.
is the Aussie, is that a treatment?
And so is the snow proofing.
Now, is that something that's done at the store or the person does at home?
They do at home, but we can teach them right at the store. Super easy to do.
So,
And it allows the water to bead up for you.
nice. Good to know.
Great question, by the way.
Yeah, very cool. Now, how about before we jump to how to apply it? Let's say that I want to do slippers, bottoms for me and my husband or a purse. How do I buy it? Do I buy this whole big old thing?
Well, it
Or how do
depends
we-
on what you're looking for and how many slippers you're gonna have.
Yeah.
On
How
the-
do you sell it?
We sell it in a lot of different ways.
Okay.
That's what's so amazing about having a local Tandy. We have cuts from just the single shoulder, which is going to be about 4 to 6 square feet. And then we have double shoulders, which are about 12 square feet. And then what you have here is a side. I'm a sucker for really pretty leather. And this one here is called the Old World. So you'll notice that it has very few blemishes, very few markings. When you touch it, it's very smooth. This is Italian leather. So this one is sewed in the side and is sewed in the belly piece. But we have pieces ranging anywhere from 4 to 6 square feet all the way up to a whole cow, just depending on what the
On how
client
much you need.
needs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Pamela wants to confirm, so the higher the number, the thicker and stiffer the leather?
Thicker, yes. As far as the stiffness goes, that's controlled by the fat liquors that's put in the tanning process. So thicker doesn't always mean stiffer.
Cool.
Great question.
Any other questions?
Yes. Judy wants to know, how easy is it to clean the leather?
It depends on what type of leather that you get. Your chrome tans that have a smooth finish is going to be the easiest ones to clean. You have cleaners at your local Tandies, and then you just clean those right off. And then with your suedes, we'll have a special suede cleaner. It's very important not to use traditional cleaners on your suedes because you will stiffen them and ruin them. And then as far as the veg goes, a lot of this is cleaned with the same chemicals that you'd use to clean the chrome, depending on how you finish it.
Okay. Okay, so if we were to go into Tandy Leather, then we're going to buy a whole cut. Like you don't buy a yard or...
No, you'll buy a piece. So like if you want a smaller piece, we'll have a single shoulder. And then say you're just doing one pair of slippers.
Yeah.
We do have a sheet size, like a paper sheet size.
Perfect.
At 8.5 by 11. And those are
So
less
they
than
can buy
20 bucks.
2 sheets.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And depending on how big their feet is, they may be able to,
Yeah.
make them fit on one sheet. So just depending. So, but yeah, you don't have to buy a whole cow to get started.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
And most
cool.
Tandies, at least the ones here in Austin area, we all have open tables. So even with that, you can go in, buy all your leather, and sit and ask the pros right there with you.
Man, we need that.
You have that. Yes.
Very
Yes.
cool. Very cool. Okay, well, what do you want to show? What, Anne?
And a couple of our felting friends want to know, what would you recommend for somebody who wanted to put leather at the bottom of a purse or slippers?
Oh, stay tuned. We're going to go over that shortly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, what do you want to jump to?
Well, let's now talk a little bit about different applications and how we would actually adhere the leather.
Okay.
So,
Should we turn down?
yes, that would be great. That
Okay,
way they can
let's-
see everything. You
We'll
wanna take a
pause
quick
for a
break?
second.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so we have this awesome assortment here that Carmen has brought for us. So talk us through your...
Okay,
Good.
wonderful. So we discussed a little bit earlier about traction versus slipperiness. You will notice that I have 2 slipper bottoms cut out here for us, one of which we're gonna glue on with the smooth side down, and then on the other one we're gonna glue down with the suede side down. You guys will notice that we get totally different looks out of both, and the feel will be different. So the one we do here, just like this, we're going to start with our leather rougher because we're going to glue this felt to smooth. And now a couple things you should know about your leather. When you're gluing, your suede side is always going to absorb glue a little bit better than your top grain. So I have a nice little leather rougher tool here, and you get that from your local Tandy. And all we're going to do is we're going to just take our tool, rough that up just a little bit so that all the glue adheres.
Oh, it's like a scorer.
But it's made for leather, so it won't tear through your leather.
So people watching on their phone right now are going, ah, they have their earphones in.
Gotta love that
It's
sound.
so loud.
Okay, there we go. And now what you guys will see here, I'm using a Tanner's Bond contact cement. This is very flammable, and you will want to make sure you use it in a very open area. Thank you. Okay, so this is really easy to use. It comes with the brush right in the can. And all I'm going to do is take my brush, and I'm going to brush it right onto my leather like such. You'll notice that I'm not going right to the edges. I'm going to come back in and smooth that out just a little bit. We don't want to glob glue too close to our edges, otherwise when we put them together, it's going to use all out. So just like that.
Someone
Brush it
said,
right on.
how stinky is it, Marie? I know you're sensitive. And Ginny, you know what? I also use spray paint, and so I would say that like at this moment it's equivalent to spray paint, but if I was using this inside in my studio, my husband would tell me it's stinky when I come in. So I would say if you're gonna work indoors, open a window and have a fan blowing out, you know, or do it in the garage with the door open or out on the back porch if you can, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because it's definitely, you definitely can smell it just like you would expect with a cement. Oh look! The oldest slippers I still own are getting leather bottoms. This is exciting.
Yes.
Ginny says her studio has an exhaust fan. That's awesome.
And notice on the felt, I'm being very cautious not to go on too heavy because you don't want your glue to seep through your felt. No one likes sticky feet.
Yeah, and I'll just show while you're doing that so y'all can see these slippers are, you know, 1/4 to a 1/2 inch thick in places, so there's some room, and the wool's super absorbent, so I'm sure it'll stop. Now someone asked, is this rubber cement? What is it?
So the difference between your rubber cement and your contact cement is rubber cement is temporary and contact cement is permanent. We're using a traditional contact cement, and of course we're using Tandy Leather contact cement, and it's Tanner's Bond, so it's our formula, and so it's been formulated for leather. So you know, a lot of times people try to use what they have at home.
Yes.
So they'll try to use craft glue or a contact cement from like Home Depot.
Yes.
And they find that their leather stiffens more than if they were to use the ones formulated for leather.
Okay.
So
someone said, how long until it dries? Is this like an overnight or 48 hours?
you guys will notice here I've done a little scrap piece that has just the felt and then the piece of leather just like what we're using here today, and I let it set for 24 hours.
Can I show this one?
Yes, please.
What y'all might notice, this piece of felt is one that I pull out of the drawer all the time when y'all are asking for samples, and I show it as a really good sample of hard felted MC1 batting, and Carmen has glued the leather to it, and man, it feels so solid. It feels like really nice, Carmen. I like it.
And
Yeah.
with the contact cement, it is a permanent hold, so you'll end up ripping the felting and the leather before you break the bond.
Wow.
Yes. So, but that has had 24 hours to set up properly. And so you'll notice that I've waited on this to get tacky. See how it's a little tacky to the touch? And now I'm able to just pop these together.
Okay, so on this one you have the suede side up.
Down. So the suede side will be to the ground on this.
Yes, the suede side to the ground. Okay,
And I'm
so
just going through and I'm just pushing to all my contact points, making sure my cement is going to stick all the way.
someone said, can the slippers be washed after they've got those leather soles on there?
Your leather won't give you any trouble, but of course I don't know enough about felt to answer that properly. So let me turn that question over to Miss Marie.
Yeah, so if you want to wash those felted slippers after, you might just rinse. You might rinse instead of throwing them in the washing machine, because then they might shrink down. They said, how long do you have to marry the sole to felt? I don't understand. They said
How long
tacky
do you have to
time.
do
Well,
what?
she just waited a few minutes for the tacky time.
It depends on what you're using. With the felt tacks up pretty quickly because the absorbency of the actual felt. And so I did the leather piece first so that it had a little bit longer to get tacky. Great question.
Okay, and then someone says, do you weight it down? You're not weighting it down, right?
It depends on the project. If you have a flat piece of felt that you're able to weight down without destroying the actual project, then absolutely weight it down. It helps. It will not hurt even a little bit.
What about along these edges? Will you go back
And trim with my nice little shears.
Oh, nice. I'm so excited. Okay. Get this up.
No, you're just fine. And while you answer questions or throw more at me, I'm going to go ahead and with the same method as I did this one, I'm going to go ahead and apply this other one.
Okay.
And this time, I'm not going to need to use the leather rougher because notice how we have the suede side up here.
So we're flippy flopping these. Right, okay. Now, someone says, right, Luann asked, can you trim the excess leather so it doesn't show? Yes, that's what
Absolutely.
she said she'll do. Does the leather flex well for walking? Oh yeah, this is not too thick at all.
That's why we picked that particular
the
leather.
4 ounce.
Now the boot leather that the young lady was asking about earlier, now that would be a little stiffer and it won't be as pliable.
Right. What do you got, Ann?
Let's see, we've got a couple questions. Let's see, Jalen wants to know, is veg tan the same stuff that's found on the back of sheepskin rugs usually?
It depends on how they tan the sheepskin rugs. Traditionally, sheepskins are tanned with chromium, but if they found a company that tans them with veg, it very well can be. But that stuff on the back of the sheep is going to be closer to suede than it is anything else.
And Robin wants to know, would you use grommets to attach leather handles to a purse, or would you, again, use the glue?
Grommets is an excellent way. They are an excellent way to protect your holes. So it depends. If you're going with a project that you do not want any hardware on, then absolutely the contact cement will be strong enough. But otherwise, you're more than welcome to use grommets. It's just a great hole protector, and eyelets are as well.
Well, we'll talk more about purse fixtures in a little bit after we do this. I think we're gonna come back up and talk a little bit about purse fixtures.
And Pamela wants to know, are the dyes on the leather that you were talking about earlier, are they color fast?
It depends on how you seal them.
How you seal them.
Yes, you need to seal them at the end. There we go. And notice how I have to work fast to readjust that? There we go.
Now you're
And
not
I'll
feeling
trim those
that.
out.
You didn't feel that didn't come through to the slipper side, did it?
It did not.
Nope. Nope.
As you can see on this one, you have no
Nope.
glue line, and this one had it on all of it.
So I'm going to show that thickness one more time. So this is much thinner than the slippers, if y'all can see that, and that adhesive did not come all the way through to the felt side. So that means it's not going to change the hand of the surface of your felt. It's just going to give you a real durable bottom or side, whatever you want to use the leather for.
And now we'll be in cooking show time. Let's pretend it's tomorrow. And we've let our our slippers dry overnight. So we don't want to do the trimming before we've had time to let them set all the way because we don't want to shift the glue. So cooking show time. Let's pretend it's been our 24 hours. We can now come in and trim off any of our excess. Can you see me okay there?
I think so. If you could come in just a little, maybe if you come
There
in
we
this
go.
way. Let me move this. Whoops. Let me move this out of your way.
Perfect. And I'm just coming in and trim. And what I have here is just a really good pair of razor shears from Tandy. That's why it's cutting through my leather so easily, if you're wondering.
If you can come right about here. Perfect.
Perfect. There we go.
Is there any trick to getting it like super smooth? I mean, like super even, or you just eyeball it? Like if you were to make them yourself, for you, your mom, or whatever.
I
would
am
you
just eyeballing it.
Okay.
And good shears help. If you're using dull shears, you can cut it 10 times and it'll never be straight.
Right. That's so you need really sharp shears in order to get a nice good cut.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And not traditional paper shears. They're not strong enough.
No.
Perfect. Just like that.
That is fabulous.
Any
Cool.
questions, guys?
Now, I have a question. When you glue, do you ever glue and stitch, or do you just stitch?
Yes, glue is a great way of holding your pieces in place while you punch your holes for your stitching or while you stitch it together. So it just depends on the project and what kind of strength it calls for.
Okay.
Sometimes you'll do one, sometimes you'll do the other, and sometimes you'll do both.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So we're going to look at stitching also, right?
Mhm.
So we
Yes,
do that
ma'am.
now?
We'll answer any questions anyone
Yep.
had on the gluing, and then I'll switch us out and we can begin our stitching.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we're going to stitch also. So are there any questions before we jump off of stitching?
Yes, can we go through and just say what type of leather was used on the soles of the slippers one more time?
Yes, we used the 3-ounce veg tan leather. Here's a scrap piece of it,
I'm gonna hold up this camera.
just like such. And you'll notice there that I used a nice thin one because I wanted the slippers to remain light and really pliable. You'll notice that when I bend them, they still bend easily.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's just the veg tan from the local Tandy store.
And a couple of our clothing friends want to know, do the leather edges need to be burnished? Or-
It depends on the look they're wanting to go with. On sandals and shoes and slippers and such, I personally never burnish, but that's because I like the look of raw leather. And not to mention, it's at the bottom, so things like that tend to naturally burnish over time and it looks very nice. So it just depends on personal preference on that one.
A sheet, on average, like how much would a sheet of that cost us? If we buy a sheet?
The
Of the
8.5
4 ounce.
and the 11, the 8.5 by 11 sheet we were talking about earlier.
Mhm.
Those are a little less than $20. I want to say they're $16.99.
Mhm.
But we do offer discounts. So if you're in the military or if you're a first responder, every Tandy out there offers a special elite pricing for
Mhm.
military and for first responders. And then we also have business pricing. So if you're doing this as a business or anything like that, you can also get wholesale pricing at no fees. And then we also have paid memberships where you can pay the $35 and shop like a member for a whole year. And then we have the elite level that gets you the best pricing at club level for $150 a year.
Okay, so you have paid memberships, you have discounts for businesses who are reselling. They have to have like a reseller's license.
Yeah, they just bring in their tax ID, take
Okay.
it into their level.
So lots of options then. So that's the starting point for
And if
straight
you're in the
retail.
military,
Yes.
do with no fee. In
Uh-huh.
the military, we love our vets,
Okay.
so we give them special pricing at no
Very cool, very cool. Okay, well this is fun y'all, right? Let's have a middle round of hearts for I'm gonna heart. Okay, well we're having fun. Carmen, are you having fun?
I am.
Okay,
I
good.
thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
And to learn a little bit more about felt. So
I know.
That was amazing.
This is a little bit of a niche. Not a lot of people know about it, but we're glad to have you here because you're in a niche market too. This is not the stuff you get in the craft store.
No,
This is
not
different.
at all.
Cool. And as I just tell people, when I visited Carmen, I was asking her about purse handles and stuff like
Yes.
that, and she's like, they're a DIY shop. So for all of you, if you're willing to make fabric with your bare hands, I'm going to think that starting with this raw leather and customizing it to your stuff is more fitting then
Yep.
off the shelf.
And even
Yeah.
if you want to do full felt projects and you have no need at all for leather,
Uh-huh.
I have more hardware than you can think of. I
Oh,
have all
yeah.
the glues and the cement.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
I think more and more people, because the more we all learn, the more we feed off each other, the more excited we get. So
Right.
cool. Well, let's look at sewing then, eh?
Okay,
All right,
wonderful.
we'll
Well,
turn
let's
back
move
down.
these over.
Okay.
And Joanne wants to know if there's no Tandy locally, can they order online?
Yes, we do. We ship. You can place your order online and have it picked up at the store. And if you don't have a store close by, we'll ship it right over to you. And we have it shipped from the one closest to you, so you save money and time.
Oh, that's super cool. They wish we had that with living felt, but we don't.
We're getting there, right? We're getting there.
Who knows?
So.
Okay. Let's zoom in here.
So, any other questions?
Let's see. A couple of our local Austin folks want to know, where's the Tandy Leather in Austin?
51st and Cameron. I've only been there for about 60 years, so I'm waiting on you to come on over. No, it's 5318 Cameron Road here in Austin, Texas.
And then
Right,
y'all are opening a south one too.
We are in South Park Meadows.
That's right.
Mhm.
I saw it.
Yes. And so these two here, just a couple books to start with, guys. These are my two favorite stitching books we have. This one here we used to teach our hand stitching class, and this one we used to teach our lacing class. Lacing on felt looks amazing too, by the way. But we only have an hour, so we're gonna stick with stitching. But your local Tandy stores can show you the lacing as well.
Okay.
But you guys will notice here that for time, because we're a little short on time today, I didn't want to have to punch my holes here, but I have everything here to show you. So you'll want to do this on a nice solid surface. I personally like to use a little quartz granite
Okay.
and a cut board on top. That way I don't have any bouncing.
Like a butcher's block on top of a quartz granite block or something like that.
And of course, it's all sold at your local store, your
Sure.
local Tandy store. And then we have our chisels here. These here are going to be the ones I really like. You have these, and all you do is see how they line up. You take them, sit them down, and you punch them with your mallet. So you can use a rawhide mallet or a poly mallet. And to walk these,
Let's pause there for a second. So she said to use a rawhide mallet or a poly mallet. Anne's going to post a link to the poly mallet because she says that a rubber mallet doesn't work.
it bounces too much.
It bounces too much, so you're not getting an effective hole punched.
Correct.
So the the poly mallet's about $25 for a medium size. If you're going to be doing this in stitching, it's a tool you'll need.
And it's worth having.
Okay.
And you also have a lifetime warranty on all the tools you buy with Tandy.
Oh,
so
cool.
you only buy them once.
Okay.
So, and then as you walk down, your last hole becomes your first hole, and that keeps your spacing.
Oh, okay. Your last hole becomes your first hole.
And
That's smart.
now, notice on this one's just a straight stitch, so we didn't get to use the two-prong, but say we had a curve here, we would use our two-prong to walk ourselves around the curve, just like such. You see that?
Yeah, do that again.
So like if we had a curve here, we'd put it in a hole that's already punched, and then we'd walk around the curve.
Very cool.
Just like such. So this one's already punched for us, and you'll notice that I've already gotten our piece of felt glued on there. This one's just done with a little bit of rubber cement, so you'll notice it's not as strong as a hold. It's just here to hold it in place as we stitch. So
And Shelly wants to know, would a hammer work?
it will damage your tools over time. Metal to metal will mushroom you out. So notice here that I've went ahead and threaded my needles. I have one on each end. What we're going to do here is called saddle stitching. In the leather world, it's literally the strongest stitch we have. So we're going to start by pushing through our first hole that we've already pre-marked. And I'm going to get our needles and make our thread even on both sides, just like such. Can everyone see that okay?
And Devin wants to confirm, did we punch through the felt too?
Yes, we did. Great question, Devin.
So she glued the leather to the felt so that it was stable, and then she punched through both.
Correct. And a little bit of beeswax on your tools will help you pull out a little easier so it doesn't stick on you if you're going through really thick leather like the boots. So now that we have it even on both sides, we have one needle on the back, one needle on the front. We're going to start on our decorative side every single time. We're going to first come through this next hole here. And we're going to drop. And now the needle that was already on this side, we're going to come through that same hole we just came out of. And notice how I pulled the thread we just came through toward me. And the reason I did that is because when we come out on this side, we want to sit in the same corner at the top every single time.
Okay.
So that as we go down, it lays the same.
Let's have you do that one more time, and then we'll explain. So she's going from, she started from the leather side, and then she pulls that thread back towards her body so that it's out of the way when she re-enters the fiber to the other side.
Just like that.
What kind of needle and thread are you using?
So I'm using a wax thread. Wax thread is very important because it sticks to itself. If you're using a sewing machine, you'll use an unwaxed thread and wax it after. Just like that.
And the needle, tell us about that needle, because we were talking about needles earlier, and it's actually a dull needle.
It is. It's what's called a harness needle. When you're pre-punching leather, you do not want to have to go through with a sharp needle because you're actually weakening your leather inside of the holes.
Yeah, you told me that the sharp needle is going to actually prick the leather as you go through and weaken that spot.
Yes.
Threaten that perfect little hole that you punched with your blunt tool.
You got it. And so now we're using what's called a harness needle. You'll notice that the end is really blunt. It's not at all sharp. And it's a nice heavy needle, so you can actually move it without it breaking on you a lot.
Oh, well, that's interesting, because someone just said the few leather needles I've used seem to break easy.
You're probably using what's called a stitching needle, and they're economy, whereas the harness needles break like maybe 1 to 10.
Okay, so Becky, look for a harness needle instead of a leather stitching
like
needle.
that. And notice how all the stitches lay the same way.
Yes.
That's the importance of going through on the same way every time. Otherwise, your stitches will jump. You'll have some high, some low. Just like that.
That's really awesome. That's really awesome. Well, I tell people they're not commenting a whole bunch, which means they're all just watching. We would just love to see somebody make anything. Just make something and we'll watch.
Just
If
like
you make it, they will watch. Can we get a super close up? Okay, yeah. So it's hard on the. I'll have Carmen come up because right now she's in the other camera. Can you bring it up this way, Carmen?
Yes.
And just there we go. So someone said, how would you punch holes through the finished slipper?
So with the slippers, I found that the gluing was a lot easier because you would have to go through with the awl. Which one am I talking to? It doesn't matter.
No, right about
there
here
we
is
go.
perfect.
Okay, so with the slippers, you would have to go through with the awl to be able to punch that. The other way you can do this is to pre-punch the
Yes.
leather piece before you put it on and then poke through your felt with your needle. Because although these aren't sharp, you can poke through them. It just takes more effort than a pre-punch clean hole.
Perfect.
So, just like that. So you'd punch it here before you even attach it.
Okay, so I tell you what, let's do just one more stitch, and we'll do it in this camera here because people say they just want to follow. So we're going to have her just do one more stitch. So the first thing she did was put a needle on each end of her thread. Do you have a way so you measure, you have the right length?
So whenever I never do more than an arm's length apart.
Perfect.
Reason for it is because even though this is all really strong thread and it's wax, every hole you're going through, you're pulling your thread the entire way.
Right,
So if you're
eating off the wax.
you got it. So if you're doing a really long project, you're really kind of weakening your thread more than you need to.
So can we do one more stitch and then you show us how you would tie it off?
Absolutely.
If you needed to stop?
But as far as the formula goes, it's going to be 8 times the length that you need to do for a saddle stitch.
8 times. Wow, that's really good to know.
And so we're going to go through here on the decorative side again. And then notice how I pulled this one I just came through with toward me.
Here we go. Perfect.
And now I'm going to put this one that was sitting on this side already right through this hole. And now I'm going to pull my tension, just like that.
Pull your tension after each stitch.
After each full stitch.
Full stitch.
Just like that. And now say I'm done or I'm running low on thread. So to end this is very easy. All we're going to do, we can come on this back side here, do one more full stitch, and then we're going to do one back stitch. Just like that. And now this hole we just came out of. Notice how I pulled that one a little tighter than the rest of them?
Okay.
I'm going to come back through this way.
So you're tying off now.
Yes. Just like this. And the reason I pulled that one tighter is because I'd like that to still look like one stitch, even though there's 2 pieces of thread there.
Perfect.
Just like that.
And then you just tie a knot on the other side.
And remember what we said about your thread is waxed, so it's going to hold to itself. We're indoors, so I won't play with fire, but if I had a little bit of fire, I would just melt down my little bit of my ends right there, and it will melt down and sear to itself, and it won't come loose.
Oh, so you
that.
heat it and then tack it down to the neighboring stitch below.
Because the wax just melts right down.
That is very awesome. Yeah, we're not too worried about the wool doesn't burn either. So
Oh, perfect. And now
you can singe it, but
you guys will notice that there's another secondary stitch here at the bottom.
let's hold that way up. There we go.
You'll notice there's a secondary stitch here at the bottom. We did that one with the sewing machine.
So should we talk about that when we turn up?
Yes.
Okay. Well, before we
Any other
turn up.
questions about hand sewing?
Before we turn up, let's look at some of these. Now, this is just a selection
Yes.
of colors. And I was asking you about this. This is what, 250 yards?
25 yards.
25 yards. Okay, right, that would be much bigger. Okay, so 25 yards, and like what would we pay for one of these spools?
These are all under $10. I have thread at the store that ranges in price from $4 up to $10 on the wax threads. But of course, if you're a member, they're cheaper.
So that's all for the handwork. Fun. And these are the little needles that come in a pack.
Yes, and these are harness needles. These were the ones that I was telling you guys about. And the person who was mentioning that their leather needles usually break, let me pull one of these out so you can see it.
Oh, sorry, y'all. I turned up, but we'll do that.
There we go. You'll notice that on the needles that you probably have at home, when you do this to them, they bend right away. Notice how much pressure I'm putting on that, and it's not bending. These harness needles are much stronger than a traditional stitching needle.
So harness needles.
Correct.
Okay. So now someone said, okay, so we're going to talk about sewing machines, and y'all sell a sewing machine, and I actually, let me pause. I have to know how to work my camera. Okay.
No worries.
Okay. She's going to bring in a sewing machine right now. Are y'all having fun? Heart, heart, heart. I'm going to heart Carmen. Very cool.
And a couple of our belting friends want to know, do you have any starter kits?
We do actually. We have starter kits, we have the open tables, I have probably the best team in Tandy, if I can brag on my team a little bit. I have an amazing group at my store, and they are absolutely amazing at teaching beginners what they need. And all Tandy teams are great. Mine, I just like them a lot. But we absolutely will show you exactly what you need. And one of the best things about your Tandys is they won't sell you a bunch of stuff you don't need, so that it just sits there. We'll sell you just what you need to get started.
This sounds like a Tandy commercial, but we do not receive any. This is another teacher in the world, and
Yes,
artisan
ma'am.
and craftsperson and business person
Yes.
coming to share her skills. Okay, so this is the Janome.
This machine is amazing. You can do different thicknesses. Notice that this one's not very thick at all. Your felt is thick, but the leather is very light. You can actually do about 2 more layers of this with this type of machine. So it has a nice little leather sewing machine needle on it. And if you do have mom's old machine, definitely go to your Tandy and buy leather sewing machine needles
Okay.
before you invest in a new machine.
Okay.
Because the one you have may work with the proper needle.
Right. So it's more about it's also about the thickness,
Correct.
right?
And the walking feet on your machine is very important. If you have one that will tear your felt, it's important to put down fused paper or a sheet of paper if you have fabric paper that will work, because you don't want it to rat nest your felt.
Okay, yeah, so she said that, the sort of serrated walking feet under there kind of grab onto the felt and kind of rough it up. So if we're sewing, now this is more likely for, maybe we should look at, where's our, so this might be for a piece of fabric. So if we're doing a purse, it would have to be before it's sewn.
Correct.
Right? I mean, before it's wet felted. So it would have to be, if you were making a purse and you wanted a leather bottom and sew it on your machine, this would have to be like one piece of fabric this way, and then you sew your sides on, or
Yes,
something like
yes.
that. But it's going to be a challenge to sew something finished on your sewing machine.
And is that a regular sewing machine?
It's a Janome. It's made for leather.
It's made for leather.
It is.
It's called the HD 3000. But I'm going to try this on, because my sewing machine is designed to sew thick fabrics, and it's a FAF, and it also has like a back walking foot that helps things walk through.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely get you a leather sewing machine needle and try that first.
Okay.
Definitely try what you have.
Okay.
So.
So this is a really tight, nice stitch. So let's see if we probably showed that before. See if we can just show it up real close. No, I can't see.
Maybe a little.
We'll show up on this one first. Can you see it? And then up here. Really nice. Now, so you put the paper on the back of that, and then you just kind of got to dig it
And
out.
then
right?
on this one, I just did a nice easy pull and peel. I didn't even take all the extra paper out, as you can see. I wanted to leave a trace of it so you guys know what I actually did.
Okay.
Any questions about the machine, guys?
We have a question about, do you feed it through the machine leather side up or
Well, a
down?
great question. With the leather side up. Yes. Yes. Well, should I say the decorative side up?
Well, we have a few minutes. Maybe we could talk a little bit about hardware, and hadn't you traced out some tabs earlier?
Yes.
That we could talk about that. So we'll scoot your machine over so it's still present.
And Pam wants to know, would you use the same waxed thread in the sewing machine?
No, actually, we have unwaxed thread for your machine. Great question, Miss Pam. If you try to put wax thread through your machine, you're going to end up caking it up. But we do sell what's called hand wax. So you'd use your thread in your machine normally, and then you'd come back through and wax your thread if you'd like it waxed. So great question. So, any others? Okay, perfect. So talk a little bit about attaching to purses. I didn't bring any hardware for you guys today, but you can go on my tandyleatherfactory.com website and you can look up all of the hardware. We have so many bag pieces, from the rivets to the D-rings and everything in between, the little magnet pieces. We literally have all handbag hardware.
Okay. Now, had you
So-
traced out some tabs earlier? Did y'all end up cutting those out? or-
Yes, we have 2 little pieces. Let's see where they went. The little square pieces. We seem to have misplaced them,
There you
but
go.
it was just the square ones. those. Perfect, that will work. So, this is just a little piece of leather. You can cut them in the triangle shape here, or like the rectangle shape you see here. But just like with the slippers, we would temporarily stitch it, or glue it I should say, with the rubber cement, and then we punch our holes to stitch it on. Just like this one.
No, I can't see.
And wax thread will keep it from unraveling over time.
Oh, is that what it does?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they would like to see that a little closer to the camera. So why don't we show those tabs, and then, Ann, will you guide us so that we can get in the camera? Are we there? You see both of them? So these, you can pre-punch these holes. Make your tabs, pre-punch the holes. You buy the rivets and the D-rings independently, right? And then, so these were just hand stitched on, just like the little magnetic enclosure was, pre-punched, and then hand stitched onto the purse.
And now we didn't bring anything to make the handles or the hardware, but again, you can go to your local store on an open work table day and we'll be happy to show.
So there's
show
just
that.
certain days that there's open work tables?
At your local Austin one, we have open tables in May on Tuesdays. For April, they're on Wednesdays.
So each store will be different.
You can
Now-
check the website.
What do you put in the middle of the handle?
This one feels like
Inside.
a cord, like a rope, but you can do them with flat handles, which would be just your traditional leather ones. You can use what's called a leather dust, which is just a mixture of all the loose fibers from here and glue, or you can use like what they've used here, which is just a cord. You get the cord from like a Home Depot or something.
So if you were to make these handles yourself, now what's this, do you sew it first and then cut the line, or would you cut it to this exact size and then sew it? Because that seems tricky.
So you'd cut it first, and then you sew it all up, and then if you have any trimming to do, then you do your trimming.
And what's this edge treatment, would you say?
So this is actually called, let's move a little closer so
Yeah, because it
our
feels really
friends can
finished.
see. But this here is actually called an edge paint.
You hold up.
All of your local Tandy sell this. We sell it in a lot of different colors too. We have reds, turquoises, blues, blacks, browns, and everything in between. But this here is just the edge paint, and notice how it gives it that nice finished look. It doesn't feel like a traditional normal dye. It feels almost like a rubber finish. That's exactly what that is. It's just called an edge paint.
Now, if you were putting handles on a bag, what weight would you use?
It depends on what you're going to do with them. So I personally have several handles that are the flat ones.
Like, let's say for a big heavy bag like that art bag there, what would you suggest for, if you wanted, because you know, if you give a woman this purse,
Yes.
she's gonna fill it.
We are. I have one just like it, size-wise. But I personally would go with a flat handle, and then I would just do a nice sturdy rivet right here, and with the D-ring. I wouldn't do anything else to it, because with all the extra weight, a flat handle's gonna feel nice.
Perfect.
So it just all depends. On the little handbags like this, the road handles are better. You're not too often putting it on your shoulder with a lot of weight. These are gonna dig in a little bit more than say like a flat handle would.
Perfect.
And Karen wants to know, do you have pre-made handles at the stores?
We don't have pre-made anything, but we'll teach you how to make it.
So someone said they can't see, but we'll just show this real close, and then I'm gonna ask just a question. So this is one of Kimberly Pulley's bags, y'all, and I brought this in because some of you know she's teaching here in the end of July, and on this bag she sewed these tabs down and then inserted D-rings. So Carmen is just saying she would recommend for this bag, this is the right style handle, so you would make a flat leather handle. Now, would you stitch two pieces of leather together so that
What
it's
a great
thicker?
question. It's not so much on the thickness, because as long as you're using good leather, it's not gonna rip on you. But what happens when you do the two pieces together, you then have the option of having smooth on both sides.
Smooth on both sides.
So a smooth strap's gonna slide on and off
Mm-hmm.
A lot easier than the rough, just like with the sandal bottoms.
Mm-hmm. So that seems like a lot to sew. Like if you were going to sew big handles like that, would you recommend doing the machine
Definitely
and it's going to
machine.
hold up more? So then you do it on the
Well,
machine.
not so much because it's gonna hold up more, because hand stitching is actually stronger,
Okay.
but because it's faster.
Faster.
Yes.
So you would stitch the whole thing and then you would go back and wax just the thread?
Mhm.
So if it's...
Well, it depends on the project and the look I'm going for.
It sounds like
But-
us answering questions. We're always like, well...
Yes, I don't want to fib to you, but it depends on the project. But yes, you can just go back and easily wax it.
Okay, because that's good for the...
Good
Okay.
for the thread.
Okay, I know I was just going to ask a question. Oh, okay. So when we cut fabric or felt, we're usually using a straight edge and our cutting mat and a
Rotary
roller.
cutter.
Rotary. So do y'all use a rotary cutter
Rotary
too
cutters
when
are
you're
my
cutting a straight
favorite.
line? And so you have special blades.
No,
For-
the blades are special. They're the same as what you'd use in the fabric stores.
Okay.
But it is important to make sure you always use a clean blade, like one that's nice and sharp, and never use it once it's already past the doling point. And one thing we have that's a little different than fabric stores is we have 2 different thicknesses of blades. So when you're doing thin stuff like this,
Mhm.
we have the traditional smaller rotary cutter, like
Uh-huh.
what you'd see at a fabric store.
Uh-huh.
But then when you're doing the nice heavy thick leather, we have a nice thick blade for
Awesome.
the thicker leathers.
That's awesome.
So,
And Kelly wants to know, what weight would you suggest to put on the bottom of a bag to protect it? And do you have the little metal feet that go on the bottom?
I do. I do have the metal feet. I love them. Have them in 2 different sizes, small and large. And then as far as the weight goes, as personal preference on your bag, you can do the lightweight bag or lightweight leather like what we use today easily enough. But if you're wanting something to be more sturdy, give you a little more oomph, then you can go with heavier leather. Me personally, I tend to put everything but the kitchen sink in my purse, so I want it as light as possible, so I would go with the lighter leather.
Mhm.
So,
And Cece shares, Carmen, you are fabulous. I wish I lived closer to attend classes.
well, thank you, Miss Cece. Austin's a great place to vacation. Yes, we do classes every Saturday, and then we have workshops on Tuesdays as well. And this week we have sandals coming up, so great time for a vacation.
Oh, that's so cool.
Great time for a
So
vacation.
Ruth says, I love this topic. She says, I've been putting leather handles on walking sticks and wanted to incorporate it with my felt. Now I know where to get everything. There's a store in Elgin, Illinois.
Oh, I love Elgin.
Mm-hmm.
I know your manager. Ask for Dan. He's a great guy.
In Illinois?
Yes, ma'am.
How cool. Are you from Illinois?
I'm from Indiana originally.
Very nice.
I worked with that manager for a little bit. You have an amazing manager up there, full of life and energy.
That is so cool. Well, I think we've answered just about everybody's
Yeah.
questions, don't you?
Yeah.
We're going to get the fairies, y'all, and give away some prizes. And Carmen, thank you so much
Thank you
for
so
being
much
here
for
today.
having
This
us.
has been
Thank you
such
so
a treat,
much.
and I think I'll have
It's
to
been a
spend my off days if I can find some at your store.
I'll be okay with that. I'll be
You
okay.
can come and
Thank you
play
so
here,
much.
too.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank
me
you.
too, you. Well, we're going to give away some prizes, y'all. Everybody who's participated, just a big round of hearts for Carmen. Didn't she do a great job and schooled us so much? And I know everyone's going to be out trying to buy all the supplies. So did you say there are starter kits? Carmen, tell us real
I
fast.
do have starter kits, and now are you doing a giveaway every week?
We give away every week.
Okay, wonderful. Well, why don't I bring a starter kit for next week's giveaway?
Okay, so if you watch today and you want a chance to win a Tandy Leather starter kit, then tune in next week because we're going to wet felt flowers together. So maybe we can incorporate leather in the statement or something.
That would be awesome. Well,
We'll
we said
figure
the
it out.
giveaway. Thank you so much for having
Thank you,
us. I
too,
can't
Carmen.
thank
We
you
appreciate
enough.
you. Such a treat to have
Absolutely.
you and meet you. The fairies are here. Carmen, will you help us do our giveaway?
Yes,
okay,
a pleasure.
So we're going to let Carmen draw our names today. The fairies are back.
Okay.
And Anne, will you tell us about our prizes?
Absolutely. So,
Come on in. We'll scoot this way. Can see if we can see everybody. Okay, good, good.
So prize number 1 is right here. We've got 4 ounces total of your choice in the MC1 batting. We have got 1 bamboo mat for wet felting, and then a ½ yard of our mesh. That's prize number 1.
So this will be like if you want to start to wet felt a vessel, and you can follow our free video tutorial for wet felting a vessel. Start with a basic shape, and actually we'll throw in a small piece of resist in there so you can get all the way started.
Nice.
Okay, what's the next one?
Prize number 2 is if you wanted to wet felt your own purse. We've got 6 ounces of merino top. Again, that's going to be in your choice. Just email customerservice@livingfelt.com. We've got the instructions and the piece of resist, the regular size, 18 inches by 30 inches.
Woo, what fun. Okay, last one.
Last one, we've got the wet felting slippers kit. It's going to come with 4 ounces of your choice in the MC1, or you can select just a color family and we'll pick complementary colors for you. We've got the resist and the mesh and the instructions.
Yay, so you can pick, your name is John, you can pick any one of those free prizes. Let's do it, Carmen.
No peeking. Okay, Mary Jo Van.
Yay! Grubendorf. Mary, that's a long name. Mary Jo Van something Grubendorf. Yay! Mary Jo, congratulations to you. So email customer service at livingfelt, your choice of prize and color. Okay, let's do another one.
Perfect.
I'll take this one. You want to draw again?
All right.
Go ahead, Hannah.
We've got Lewis Walden.
Lois Walden. Sorry, that's my terrible
Lois,
handwriting.
congratulations, Lois. Just email customer service. Oh, me? No, Ann. Ann's been working hard behind the scenes over there.
Kate Housley Williams.
Yay! Kate and hi to Xander. Hey, you guys, thank you so much for joining us this week. Email customer service if you want a prize. We can't wait to see what leather you put on your felted stuff, and tune in next week. We'll be wet felting flowers together. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carmen. Thank you. Bye, everybody.